quote by Harold Clurman on my site, who was one of the original members of the group theater, who said, acting is action, acting, action. It's about behavior. And whether, again, watch film and TV in this next month. Watch how many things that they're doing. Watch the business that they're doing. Watch the physical behavior that they have. Listen to the vocal energy, how it changes. And tell me where you see emotional extremes, crying, anger, rage, physicality. Watch it with a different eye, and you will see that it all exists. It is a director's medium. There are differences. It's harder to bring it like you did last week. You know, people have this conception, well, I have to be big and I have to. No, you really don't. What you have to be is truthful. You have to feel it. And then what we do as human beings, we don't try to show our emotions. That's a misconception. We try to hide them. So what we have to do is have access to our own emotional energy and truth. Be able to fill up like that, whatever it is, the truth of the moment of that human being under those circumstances, and then put a lid on it. Because we don't try to show our emotions. We try to hide them if something upsets us. So an actor's journey is still what we do when we warm up. It's control over our voice, our body, and our emotional inner life. The intellect comes into this when we get the little words on paper. That's the map. We have to have this, or we don't have a story. There's nothing to produce. There's nothing to show. There's nothing to sell. So we have to tell the truth of human beings under imaginary circumstances with a script. It's when we start to get these little restrictions that most actors fail. You could memorize your lines, but if you don't bring them to life, if you're not feeling, if you're not, I'm feeling, I'm getting from you, that makes me feel, it doesn't live, and therefore it's not going to work. And it's the truth in the audition room too, right? How many of you have been in the audition and you thought just before you walked into that audition room, man, I got this? No. Never happened, but you felt it, I got it. And then you walked across that door. Everything's different, right? And then you get the people that's reading, you know? I was a reader. That's how I built my resume. Seriously, I got lucky. There was this casting director who liked me, and she brought me in for everything, and I was better than most of the actors there, and every once in a while there was a part for me, and they gave it to me, and the actors were going, oh my God, there's an actor in the fucking room. Well, you know, if you got that, that's great, but mostly they're not. Stuart Akins loved to read with actors, because he thought he was an actor. He was horrible. But he was willing, and if you're willing, I can work with that. And there's some that are okay, but they're not what you're expecting, right? So it's kind of like with monologues. Monologues aren't, they're dialogues. You have to create your end, and you have to create their end, and you have to create the story, and you have to live it at that moment, under pressure, right? So it all comes back to basics. All of these things are little nuances and little changes. But if you have the confidence that you can bring it, that you can do anything, just give me the script. I got it. I can bring tears, I can bring rage, I can bring whatever you want. I know how to tear a script down. You walk into the room different, and that's how you build a career. And that's what you're here to learn. And it starts with tearing off all that shit that's out there that you do as a human being. It's hard, but it's not impossible. And becoming this, being in the moment, trusting, being this human being that we are. We all have emotions, we have a body, and we have vocal energy, right? And when we learn to release their power without judgment, because we do it, right? We're standing there and we're looking into another actor's eyes and we're feeling, I'm feeling stupid, you know, or I'm feeling uncomfortable or whatever, and we don't acknowledge it. And we say, well, what's going to happen if I let him really see that what I'm feeling, right? There's the male thing. I mean, I remember the first time I went in, I was doing that exercise with a big, strong guy, and I went, God, if I let him think how vulnerable I'm feeling, he'll probably kick my ass. And I'm going, wait a minute, I'm in an acting class, what the fuck? But we do this, right? We put this judgment on, no, that's me, I'm in there, you're in there, we're the same. And that's what we're doing, we're telling human stories, right? So we're all the same. Isn't it interesting, you're in an audience, and you see a scene between somebody where there's real human feeling and emotion, and then music comes on, and all of a sudden we're a little verklempt, I went and saw Cinema Paradiso at 2:30 in the afternoon in Santa Monica. There's like 30 people in the audience, and it's got subtitles, the whole thing. It's a fabulous movie. It won Best Picture, foreign film. It should have won Best Picture ever. But at the end of it, there were 30 people in the theater at 2:30 in the afternoon sobbing. I'm not talking. It was unreal. And this is the business. This is why I came. I want to make people laugh and cry in the same hour. That's power. You can't do that unless you can feel it. You can't do that unless you can awake your own emotional energy and harness it. That's the key. My teacher wrote a book, and in the book he said, and I give him credit for this, we are going to learn how to work out of control under command. Isn't that wonderful? Daryl Hickman. God love you, Daryl. He married us, by the way. my acting teacher actually married me. No, he did. We're sitting in the coffee shop. We asked him to meet him, and we're starting this big preamble about, we're doing this and we're doing that, and he's sitting back there like this. And finally he says, Michael, just go ahead and ask. I said, will you marry us? And he went, I absolutely would love to, because we found out he was a minister. And it was anyway, I digress. But he said, work out of control under command. And that is, by the way, what he's talking about for the most part, and what the real elusive thing of all truthful acting is emotional truth. Anybody can learn lines. Anybody can stand on their mark. Anybody can look apart. And they get work. And you'll get work that way. But if you want to be the kind of actor that you want to be, you have to have control of this. You have to be able to feel, because we know when you feel and when you don't feel. I know when two people kiss on a screen if there's anything else going on but the rent. I've said it a million times. But you can tell if there's heat. They're going, that must have been an interesting set. And you can tell if there's this like, yeesh, don't do that. Anyway. Those are some things that are on my mind. I want you to start looking at what you're watching with the eye of not only an actor, but a director. And see, first question you ask is, do I believe it? Second thing is, wow, that was really extreme for TV or film acting. Go watch the first episode of 6 Feet Under and watch what these actors do. Watch the last episode of Handmaid's Tale where she gives birth by herself. Talk about physicality. Are you fucking kidding me?
Fuck, that's what happens.
Well, I shouldn't have been spoiler alert.
It's intense.
Watch The Godfather when Sonny goes after his sister's husband. You're telling me that's not physical acting? You're telling me that wouldn't it's okay. Hair restorer, non-age products, health supplements, all of that shit, and the whole myth about this. I don't ask you to believe me. I ask you to be observers. I ask you to go watch and tell me if there's a difference.